From the silence before the dawn of creation, even before your spirit was woven, and your feet knew the texture of the earth, a celestial record already held your name, long, long before your breath first measured the air, before the frantic rhythm of your heart was heard within the quiet of the womb. Heaven had already set its seal upon you. This isn't mere poetic license or flowery metaphor. It is an undeniable ancient truth that predates all recorded history. Consider Enoch, a man whose communion with the divine was so profound that the very grip of death could not hold him. He simply stepped from this world into the next, lifted beyond the veil of mortality, but not before he carefully inscribed words that possess an eternal, fiery clarity. His words are not abstract musings or vague, distant symbols. They are precise pointers directed right at you. Yes, you, the one who carries the designation of the chosen one, the marked soul, who experiences an inexplicable, restless yearning for eternity while navigating the mundane realities of daily life. You are on the precipice of hearing a profound revelation, a truth that was deliberately concealed from entire generations, actively suppressed by those in power, silenced by organized religion, yet meticulously preserved within the archives of heaven itself. This is a prophecy that did not merely survive. It is a living whisper that is even now calling your innermost spirit by its true, sacred name. Understand that this moment is not about passive entertainment. It is a direct summons, a crystalline mirror reflecting your destiny, a solemn warning, and a powerful confirmation that every strange, overwhelming, or fundamentally unexplainable burden you've secretly carried was never a sign of delusion or madness. It was decreed. It was written. As these words penetrate your being, you will experience a visceral, deep-seated recognition, a knowing in your very bones. You will sense that every moment of silence, every tear you've shed, every unvoiced, searing ache has been seen and accounted for long ago. Do not shrink away from this unfolding truth. Do not avert your gaze, because once the magnitude of how accurately Enoch spoke of your specific journey sinks in, nothing in your life will ever appear the same again. Remain present until the very final word, because what is beginning here is not just a conversation. It is the awakening of the true self you have perhaps fought to keep buried. What starts now is the unveiling of your celestial identity, your true name as known in the courts of heaven. If your soul acknowledges its readiness for this irreversible truth, affirm this moment with a decisive action. Engage with this video by liking it so that this crucial message can reach others. If you haven't yet, subscribe to join this flow. And in the comments, declare 99 as a sign of your soul's alignment with this revelation. Why the number 99? Because it is the powerful numerical symbol of the missing one, the single lost sheep that the shepherd deliberately leaves the safety of the 99 to relentlessly seek and find. If you are here absorbing this message, you are that one. You have been found, and your profound journey begins right now. Enoch was more than just the man who vanished into the embrace of the divine. He served as a profound watcher of mysteries, a visionary prophet who was granted a direct glimpse beyond the temporal veil of his own era, straight into the unborn times and generations not yet visible on earth. His spiritual eyes were open to the existence of souls who had not yet taken a single breath, yet were already vibrating with an intense, sacred fire carefully hidden deep within their core. When he committed his insights to paper, he chose to forego obscure riddles or hazy abstractions. Instead, he provided an eerily precise description of the emergence of a people unlike any other known to history, marked not by any visible sign on their physical bodies, but by an indelible imprint forged in the invisible chambers of their spirit. He witnessed them navigating crowded streets and living among communities, yet feeling an unavoidable sense of being strangers in a world that could never truly become their ultimate home. He saw them struggling with unexplained bouts of weeping, carrying profound, unearned griefs that were not their own to bear. He watched them jolting awake in the deep stillness of the night, their chests seized by a powerful, unnamed ache, an emptiness not born of physical illness but from a deep-seated, eternal longing that defied all earthly language and explanation. And the prophet himself trembled because he recognized that these were not the common, everyday burdens of human existence. They were unmistakable signs of destiny. Enoch meticulously documented visions so overwhelming that they caused even the celestial angels to shudder. He wrote of specific souls who would carry an unquenchable light buried deep inside, a powerful, sacred flame that no earthly storm or tribulation could ever truly extinguish. Yet he revealed that this inherent flame would inevitably attract battles that no one around them could perceive. Invisible wars, silent struggles, and unheard cries would become their constant companions. He saw these chosen ones tirelessly fighting shadows that the world dismissed or laughed at, showing a quiet resilience in the face of temptations that others would easily and carelessly surrender to. He foresaw the paradoxes they would constantly endure, mocked for their sincere sensitivity, ridiculed for their intellectual and emotional depth, and often labeled as strange by a world too superficially focused and shallow to ever fully recognize the divine mark resting upon them. Yet his vision also guaranteed their unshakable endurance, their powerful innate ability to keep walking forward while carrying deep, spiritual wounds that should have, by all natural logic, utterly broken them long ago. Perhaps the most unsettling and powerful detail in his writings was not merely the nature of what they would suffer, but the astonishing accuracy with which he described their internal, emotional reality, a pervasive sense of never quite belonging, even when surrounded by their closest friends, a profound aching yearning for genuine purity in a culture completely addicted to moral corruption, a deep consuming hunger for ultimate meaning that no amount of material success, no human relationship, and no earthly possession could ever fully satisfy. Have you ever felt that hollow, aching void deep inside you? That unsettling discomfort when everyone else seems perfectly content merely surviving on metaphorical crumbs, while your soul screams out for something immeasurably higher, something purely eternal? That unnameable ache is not an indication of any mental instability or simple dissatisfaction. It is prophecy being precisely fulfilled within your own being. Enoch saw it all coming, and his prophetic pen effectively carried the record of your personal pain, centuries before you were even born to experience it. He gave them a powerful, evocative name, a people of the fracture, walking with visible cracks in their souls, yet simultaneously glowing with an undeniable light that shone brilliantly from within those very fissures. He observed that their eyes would betray their inner reality, eyes that gleam with the fire of destiny, even as silent tears track down their faces, eyes that profoundly reflect the deep mirror of eternity, even when the world around them cruelly labels them as fundamentally broken. These marked individuals, he noted, would never be able to fully dissolve into the empty noise of the crowd because their very spiritual frequency is intentionally tuned to the celestial melody of heaven. They would never achieve lasting satisfaction with the shallow, stagnant waters of this fleeting life because their spirits were intricately designed for profound, incomprehensible depths that the majority of humanity is simply too afraid to approach. And here lies the central, captivating mystery that caused even the most devoted holy scribes of the past to feel deeply unsettled. Enoch saw clearly that their struggles and battles were not purely their own to bear. He witnessed that unseen enemies, the fallen dark beings of the spirit realm, would relentlessly target them precisely because of the indwelling sacred fire. This is the inescapable reason you have been forced to weather storms that others simply cannot begin to explain. This is why you have been misunderstood, judged, and rejected again and again throughout your life. Because the indelible mark is unmistakably visible in the spirit realm. Even when you attempt to hide it, to cloak your calling in the natural world, the dark forces see it. They fear it, and they attack it. Yet paradoxically, every relentless attack only serves to prove the absolute truth. Enoch was specifically speaking of you. Try to visualize this incredible image. Centuries before you took your very first breath, a man who was literally taken up into heaven trembled as he precisely described the life you would lead. He wrote that the chosen ones who would walk in the final days would carry a deep, internal heaviness, but simultaneously be imbued with an unshakable divine destiny. They would feel utterly alien in their own world, yet feel completely at home and at peace when they simply lifted their gaze toward the heavens. He foresaw that they would burn with difficult questions that no one around them could adequately answer, until they eventually arrived at the stunning realization that the ultimate answer had been dwelling inside them all along. And now, here you are, listening to these very words, feeling them not as mere information but as a deep, soul-piercing recognition. Because Enoch's ancient, unseen vision has finally reached its intended recipient. You. This is the most deeply unsettling part of the revelation. He perceived you with such stunning, frightening clarity that his specific words continue to breathe with life, thousands of years after he wrote them down. You simply cannot deny the stirring within you. Something essential in your core is vibrating right now, because you recognize yourself in a powerful prophecy you never even knew existed until this moment. Do you perceive that distinct spiritual chill coursing through your entire body? That is the precise moment when an ancient, eternal vision makes intimate contact with your present, earthly reality. Enoch's prophetic scrolls are not inert, dusty relics of the past. They are active living mirrors, and tonight you are standing directly before one. The only question that truly matters now is, what will you do when you realize you are the living reflection staring back? There is a powerful seal resting upon you that no human eye possesses the ability to see. Yet it can feel heavier than any physical chains forged of iron. It is not etched onto your skin like a tattoo, but rather pressed deep into the core of your soul, like a potent fire intentionally hidden beneath the cool, hard surface of a stone. Enoch spoke of this mark with profound, trembling reverence, because he foresaw exactly how it would utterly set apart an entire generation. He called it a mark that burns in the profound silence, a brand not of human shame, but of divine destiny. It is entirely invisible to the external world, yet unmistakable to the fully awakened spirit. This explains why you have never felt completely, utterly at home on this earth. This is why every concerted effort to distract or bury yourself in meaningless pursuits has always left you feeling more hollow and empty than you were before. The mark is always whispering, even during the times you desperately wish it would fall silent. Reflect for a moment on those restless, agonizing nights when your physical body is exhausted, yet your mind stubbornly refuses to surrender to sleep. You roll and toss, staring up at the darkened ceiling, as if you are actively waiting for a voice to pierce through the heavy silence of the dark. It is not mere anxiety. It is not a symptom of madness. It is the powerful, silent flame of the mark pulsating deep within you, serving as a constant internal reminder that your profound story is immeasurably larger and more significant than your current, temporary moment of struggle. Think about those strange, solitary hours when your chest physically tightens, not from any discernible sickness, but from an ache that you simply cannot put a name to. You are unable to pinpoint the exact reason, yet the internal weight feels utterly unbearable. That is the seal that Enoch foresaw. It represents a burning hunger, but not for food, not for water, and certainly not for fleeting earthly pleasures. It is a terrifying hunger for the Eternal One, for the very voice that spoke your specific name into existence before the foundations of the earth were ever laid. Enoch chronicled that these chosen ones would be haunted by a profound, pervasive thirst that no earthly cup or river could ever hope to fully quench. They would attempt to satisfy this void with worldly achievements, temporary relationships, or sensual pleasures. But the more they consumed, the more hollow and unsatisfiable they would become, because their spirit was perfectly designed for a substance this world could never, ever supply. That profound, spiritual longing you have carried deep within you since your childhood, that persistent, gnawing suspicion that there must be something vastly more. This is not a mere coincidence or an emotional quirk. This is the eternal burn of the seal, and it does not fade with time. Instead, it intensifies with every desperate, failed attempt you make to actively silence its undeniable presence. You have felt it in the dark hours when sleep was impossible. You know those sudden, inexplicable moments when your heart ignited without any external reason, as if someone had pressed a burning coal directly into your chest. You have experienced those days when the loud, casual laughter around you sounded like utterly meaningless noise because deep inside, your soul was attentively listening for a signal of something infinitely greater. This is the mark, and once your spirit fully recognizes it, you will begin to see its profound influence everywhere, in the sudden, unexplained tears that stream down your face, in that unmistakable feeling of being homesick for a majestic place you have never physically visited, in the powerful, unexpected pull on your spirit when sacred, eternal words happen to cross your path. These are not random accidents. They are brilliant sparks fiercely breaking through the deep silence of your soul, undeniable proof that the invisible seal is vividly alive and powerfully active within you. The most haunting quality of this mark is its tendency to isolate you. Others cannot see it. They cannot possibly comprehend why you ache and yearn in the way that you do. They label you as too sensitive, too intense, or perhaps too detached from reality. But what they dismiss as a glaring weakness Enoch called prophecy, for he wrote clearly that those who bravely bear this spiritual seal would be profoundly misunderstood by the vast majority of the masses, yet be instantly recognized and deeply valued by heaven. And that divine recognition is the primary reason why the battles waged against you have been so relentless and fierce. The presence of the invisible mark essentially paints a spiritual target on your back in the unseen realm, but concurrently, it also engraves your true name permanently in the hallowed halls of eternity. Enoch declared that their very bones would glow with an inner, hidden light, and that their spirit would ache like a wound that simply refused to heal. Yet he revealed that from that very ache would emerge an unshakable, powerful resilience. Every profound disappointment you've endured, every brutal betrayal, every single question that has remained agonizingly unanswered, none of these events have successfully destroyed you, because the divine seal adamantly refuses to let you die as an ordinary, forgettable person. The mark burns fiercely even during your attempts to extinguish it. It relentlessly pushes you forward when every physical part of you screams to stop. It keeps you alert and awake when the rest of the world is sleeping, and it will absolutely not allow you to settle for a small, compromised life that was never intended for your immense spirit. Perhaps you have often wondered why your heart aches so fiercely in the presence of even minor injustice, why your spirit instantly flares with an unbidden anger when you see obvious lies openly celebrated as truth. That is the seal burning intensely within you, actively refusing to be silenced. Perhaps you have experienced joy so overwhelmingly potent and sudden that you simply couldn't find the words to explain it to anyone else. A joy that did not stem from external circumstances, but from a source too deep and pure for mere human language. That too is the divine seal burning. The mark is not solely a source of pain. It is also the source of sudden, beautiful glimpses of eternity, powerful flashes of the divine, and undeniable reminders that you are tethered to a purpose vastly greater than yourself. And here is the heart-stopping, magnificent beauty of it all. Once the mark fully awakens within you, you can never ever return to the person you were before. You may attempt to ignore its presence. You may try desperately to run and hide, but it will tirelessly find you, in moments of profound silence, woven into songs, within the fury of storms, and hidden deep within your most powerful dreams. Enoch said this mark would be like a smoldering coal hidden in the marrow of your bones, silent, but absolutely inextinguishable, flaring with an incredible intensity every time the chosen one temporarily forgets who they fundamentally are. That is the very reason you are here right now, listening. That is why these simple words pierce deeper than any ordinary surface-level speech. Because the mark dwelling within you is actively responding like a hungry flame naturally drawn to oxygen. But a crucial question remains. What will happen when the mark ceases its gentle whispering and begins to let out an undeniable roar? What will occur when that slow, silent burn transforms into an all-consuming fire that can no longer be contained or hidden from the world? When Enoch was dramatically lifted beyond the temporal boundaries of his age, he was granted visions so immense that ordinary men could not have possibly endured them. Among these staggering sights was a recurring figure that profoundly haunted his writings and was permanently etched into his memory. A warrior, not adorned with a crown, not celebrated by the masses, not trailed by vast legions of followers, but walking utterly alone through a desolate valley of shadows. This figure's clothing was often torn. His body bore the clear evidence of old scars, And yet his determined steps were steady, completely unshaken and absolutely unstoppable. He was not armed with conventional swords or shields, yet the deep darkness surrounding him visibly trembled, as if it inherently knew that his very presence signaled its ultimate end. His most powerful weapon was not tempered steel. His immense power did not rely on numbers. His fire resided deep within his eyes. Enoch described this figure with words that resonated like thunder in a profound silence. A person who was clearly burdened with great pain, but who never once bowed or surrendered to it. A soul marked not by public victories on a battlefield, but by an unyielding endurance through intense private storms that no one else could possibly see. His very silence possessed a spiritual heaviness greater than entire armies. His gaze was demonstrably brighter than 1,000 torches. He walked his path without any need for human applause, yet every single step he took etched a permanent mark in eternity. He carried no visible banner, yet his passage was tracked by the heavens. And here is the potent truth that is actively stirring your spirit right now. This warrior's features were not unfamiliar. They strikingly match your own. The inexplicable, stubborn resilience you possess. The scars you diligently hide that absolutely refuse to define your worth. The unwavering light that consistently flickers brightly in your eyes, even when everything else around you seems to be collapsing. Enoch saw it. He saw you. He wrote of a warrior whose strength was forged in the fires of rejection and profound isolation. Someone who would come to know betrayal more intimately than friendship. Who would learn to courageously stand up after every fall, until the very act of standing firm became a spiritual second nature. This figure did not attempt to command attention with loud noise or boastful cries. His powerful silence was far more terrifying than any shouts. When he simply closed his eyes to rest, the heavens would instantly respond with incredible signs. When he humbly bent his knees in solitude, entire unseen kingdoms in the spirit realm were forced to shift their position. Enoch was profoundly moved because this warrior's immense strength was not derived from external armies. It was miraculously sourced from his wounds. Every scar on his body served as a ringing testimony that pain had fiercely tried and failed to utterly destroy him. And perhaps you can deeply feel those very same scars within your own spirit. The betrayals you endured that cut far deeper than any knife. The intense loneliness that felt like an outright painful exile. The quiet tears that carved permanent lines no one else ever truly noticed. These experiences were not a waste. They are the indelible sacred inscriptions of your warrior spirit. The world looked and saw only weakness, but heaven looked and recognized powerful weapons. Because a heart that has deeply bled is a heart that cannot be easily deceived. A soul that has successfully endured countless spiritual storms is a soul that cannot be shaken by mere passing whispers. That is the fundamental reason why you survive what effortlessly breaks others. That is why you consistently rise when all earthly logic suggests you shouldn't. Because you are the living, breathing echo of that powerful vision. Enoch meticulously described the warrior's eyes that burned with an intense, sacred fire, a light born not of simple, naive joy, but from the raw, profound knowledge of enduring pain and still deliberately choosing to walk forward. His intense gaze effortlessly pierced through the fog of deception. His silence profoundly unsettled all his unseen enemies, who could never comprehend why he still stood tall after suffering so much crushing loss. He carried an invisible crown, not one made of fleeting gold, but one forged from unshakable endurance. And as he moved, the very ground beneath his feet seemed to recognize and remember his name. He was never publicly celebrated by men, but the heavens unequivocally called him chosen. This vision was never meant to be a mere legend. It was an active binding prophecy. It served as a clear warning to the dark realms that a specific individual was coming, someone who could not be broken because their fundamental strength was absolutely not of this world. That individual is you. Reflect on this truth. How many times have you successfully risen after being publicly counted out? How many times have you offered a powerful smile, with an undeniable fire blazing in your chest, when others were certain of your total collapse? That is the warrior spirit that Enoch foresaw. That is the powerful prophecy actively unfolding right now. But here is the most chilling element of the entire revelation. The vision did not simply conclude with the warrior walking alone. Enoch was given the profound sight of this figure, lifting his scarred, weary eyes to the heavens, and the heavens instantly answered. The sky responded as though it were recognizing its very own perfect reflection on earth. And in that crucial moment, the warrior's deep silence became exponentially more powerful than the combined volume of 1,000 voices. Do you feel that powerful recognition now? That deep internal echo within you, as if heaven itself leans in closely every single time you refuse to surrender? Enoch left this powerful image not to glamorize or celebrate the pain, but to solemnly confirm the destiny, to serve as a perpetual reminder that every single scar you carry is not an endpoint. It is irrefutable proof that you are the warrior chosen to endure. The shadows already know your name. The heavens profoundly recognize your light, and every step you take, even in profound silence, shakes the unseen realms. But a greater mystery awaits. What will happen when this solitary warrior realizes he was never truly walking alone, that heaven itself is actively marching in step with him? When Enoch eventually stood directly before the throne of the Almighty, he did not petition for his personal safety, nor did he beg for earthly glory or human recognition. He carried a burden infinitely heavier than any personal concern. He carried a cry that powerfully shook the very atmosphere of heaven. The ancient scrolls meticulously describe it as a sound unlike any other ever heard, a cry that effortlessly crossed dimensions, a cry that reached far beyond his own fleeting time and pierced directly into the ages yet unborn. Enoch, the man whose companionship with God was so deep that death itself could not touch him, fell prostrate on his face and interceded for people who did not even exist yet. He relentlessly begged heaven for you. His tears were not shed for the well-being of his current generation. They were specifically for yours. Try to grasp the sheer magnitude of that singular moment. A man who possessed visions too terrifying for the ordinary mind, who spoke directly with powerful angels and glimpsed the majestic architecture of eternity, chose not to pray for his own eternal comfort, but specifically for you. His voice thundered through the unseen realms, pleading that those who would one day bear the unbearable mark, the hidden sacred seal of fire, would not be utterly abandoned in their moment of greatest need. He wept, imploring that the chosen ones of the distant future would never forget who they truly were when the shadows tried relentlessly to suffocate their memory. And that profound prayer has been eternally echoing ever since. It remains actively alive in the very corridors of eternity, patiently waiting for the precise moment when you would finally rise and realize that you are the living answer to his ancient plea. Every single time you have survived an experience that should have destroyed you, it was not solely due to your own limited strength. It was the direct result of a prophet's tears standing between you and utter destruction. Every time you were miraculously pulled back from the very edge of despair, it was the spiritual ripple of that ancient intercession that was still actively covering you. You are not standing here by pure accident. You are standing because thousands of years ago, a man carried your specific name into the profound, eternal presence. He clearly saw your present struggles. He foresaw your coming weariness. He accurately anticipated the difficult days when you would intensely doubt your own worth, when you would physically collapse under the weight of your invisible battles. And with a deeply trembling voice he begged, "Lord, do not let them forget who they are." This is the reason why your spirit is profoundly stirring as you listen to these words. You are not simply being reminded of a historical fact. You are being actively awakened by a divine cry that has been resonating through the cosmos for millennia. It is the undeniable reason you have felt an invisible shield surrounding you, in moments you simply cannot explain. It is the reason why severe accidents inexplicably missed you, the reason why betrayals could not ultimately consume you, the reason why utter despair never claimed the final crushing word. Because a man who walked with God himself specifically requested that heaven intervene on your behalf.